Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. We're going to change things up a little bit this week and we're going to go for a problem solving video, specifically cutting holes in round surfaces and trying to get the best result as possible. So I'm using the Zapper which I've created quite recently because this is one of the problems which actually came up during the filming of the video, and I thought it would be a good case piece for this specific problem. So first of all, I'll hide half of the barrel here, and I've also disabled the bevel and the subdivision just so we have a little bit of a more simple mesh. So first things first, what do we need to think about? Obviously geometry. Here specifically, if you see, I have quite a lot of vertices here with this curve, and this was specifically because when I created this model I wanted it to be usable without subdivision surfacing. So for instance, if we go activate the bevel and we go into rendered view, so right now this is without you can excuse the changing in geometry, so this is without any subdivision, and from a distance here, great, perfectly usable. And then if we were to gonna come in real close, we could activate subdivision surface, so it's also very smooth results. So the idea of me choosing so many vertices here was just basically to allow myself to have with or without subdivision. So that being said, I do have a lot of vertices here. You could go lower if you wanted to, if you did want to create a model which was going to be viewed from a distance. So when we add our cutout here, so I just try and add, the first thing you want to think about is how many vertices you're going to need here. So if we get a reasonable size here, view, and let's just say for instance if we went to, I don't know, 24, so 24 vertices, we scale it down, face and extrude on the Y, and then control minus. So now we have our Boolean, which needs to be extruded further back. So when things disappear like this, it's because there's a clash of vertices, but this will be absolutely fine. So if we went for this, for example now, and we collapse the Boolean, now you can see we've got a lot of geometry to clean up here. And really it's not actually that bad. The first thing you would be doing is trying to collapse together any geometry that you don't need. For instance, here would be no problem, you can collapse these together. Same here, maybe in the center. So preferably these are the vertices you want to be keeping, the ones which actually create the hole, because if you take these away, your round hole will suddenly stop being round and it will find some other kind of deformed shape, obviously, and that's not good. But at the same time, if you were to take all the other ones up here and clash them in and get rid of them, suddenly your barrel is also going to be affected. Not on a huge scale, but there's definitely being affected here. So you want to be very mindful of how many vertices you add into here. So I'm going to add our Boolean cutter here to view, and the number I've gone for is 34, which is not too far away from the number of cuts we have here. So again, the thinking behind it is that we want to match our geometry as close as possible, even if this is quite high amount of geometry. So we'll face this up, extrude on the Y, grab it back a little bit, even, decrease. We're quite big here. And then we will add in our cutter here. So let's have a look, see how we're looking. Yep, maybe a little bit bigger here I want to go. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's about the size as these other holes here. So straight off the bat we can have a look at where we are. You can see we have some good connection points here. It will never be perfect, just for the fact that if we look from the side, because of the curve, these edges are getting closer and closer, so they will never match up. But we've given ourselves enough edges here to be able to connect the things together. I'm going to go ahead and apply this, take away the cutter, and straight off the bat let's have a look at what we got. Okay, it looks horrendous because there's ngons all over the place and we need to fix this. So first thing I want to do is take away the subdivision, because that is more something we want to do at the very end. And we'll go straight into cleanup then. So we definitely want to keep these vertices which define the circle here. These ones here, which are part of the barrel, they're kind of expendable to a certain degree. If we're going to move them really far off, it's going to distort our barrel. But we're fine just to move them a little bit. So what we can do here is just merge them together slightly here. Preserving, as said, this circle at all costs. And even here we could also okay, so quite easily collapse the geometry. We've only got a few here. We've got this one and this one, and again we need to attach them somewhere. So the best option is over here. It is not going to affect us too much. And then I'm going to, we need to resolve the geometry down here. If I take this one, knife tool, angle, cut through, and then we can cut here. Okay, so we've resolved these down here. Also, as terrible as it looks, can just make sure everything here is flat. It should be. Maybe we've got a edge here, doesn't want to be there. Dissolve edges, dissolve edge. Yeah, we're fine for now. So then we have, what more do we have? Looking at it, we need to resolve these up here. So in the real model, I tried to get some nicer connections up here. I think I actually did it a lot more low poly also. So what we're going to do here is just take these straight up to the top here. And we need 2 more at least. And we will do a connection here. Or at least we could also go straight up again here, I guess. Okay, it's not so important, this geometry up here really. It's for the function of the tutorial. So this is what it looks like. Absolutely terrible. What we need to do is add down our bevel. Define our beveled edge, which we want to be here and also here. And we're making some progress here. It is really not liking our connections at the bottom here. Maybe we should redo these. I'm curious as to what the problem actually is, because it is flat. Okay, Blender, have it your way. Again, ignore the problem solving geometry here. It would be if this was a model I was gonna sell or produce properly, I'd take a lot more care of this, but this is just, we need to resolve the geometry somehow. So we've resolved the geometry, which unfortunately is quite a lot of geometry, but that is what we have decided to do. We have decided to create a barrel with quite a lot of vertices here, which was a choice I made based on the model I wanted to produce, which then dictated the curve which we cut, which we obviously wanted to have enough vertices to make the connection. So now we can show the final result. So we have a perfect curve in a surface here, and if we were going to go over to matcap, you can see pretty much a perfect result here. I would maybe want to go and move this one back a little bit more. So yeah, I think that's about as far as we need to take it for this specific use case. Obviously, again, very specific. This was a high geometry barrel which required a specific solution. I mean, if you can go low poly on the barrel and low poly on the cut, then it's a lot less work for yourself. You're going to get a lot better geometry. But sometimes needs must. There is another method here which I would use at some point, would be introducing a shrink wrap. But in this situation I don't think it really needed. But it's definitely something for a video in another day. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to see if I can throw out a few shorter videos in the future, taking some scenarios from the models I build, and then just trying to problem solve. So there'll be some shorter videos in the pipeline, and then depending how life looks, maybe I'll put up, as I am now, the full videos, but maybe without commentary, because we'll be stopping and discussing certain things. Maybe the commentary isn't necessary, but we'll see. Maybe I'll just throw in some text just to give some information. We'll see. But thanks for today. Catch you next time.